Hello, everybody. All right. Hope everybody's having a good day. Happy Tuesday, everybody. As we wait for more people to show up, I'm gonna go off camera here for a moment, take care of a couple of things. I'll turn on some music to keep you guys entertained while I'm gone. And when I get back, we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, let me put the music on, and I will be right back. Right, we're back. As always, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything that we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Alrighty then. So, now with that, so now we are coming. We're 2.5 minutes. So wait just a couple of seconds, about 30 seconds more before I go over what's on tap. So again, I hope everybody's been having a good week thus far. Yeah, we've been talking about cartoon and anime more the last couple of days here, and of course there's been a lot. Again, I'll get to that a little bit more here in a moment here. All right, well, we're at the 3 minute mark. So here's what's on tap now. We're going to go over a couple articles from Bounding into Comics. One is around the My Adventures of Superman cartoon that recently debuted. As you guys know, when I was talking to the guys on Sunday, I pointed out I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes. And apparently I'm not the only one who has issues with the series. And we can find out why others have issues as well, and why it could be the precursor to another doomed animated series with what's potentially being planned here. Also, we got more news coming out of One Piece, as you still have people in the West who, even after the creator of One Piece, the creator of the character Yamato themselves, Mr. Eiichiro Oda, even after he has explicitly stated that she is a girl, you still have people who just will not accept it. We got another individual that they did an article on that just will not accept the fact that Yamato is a girl, is a woman, is a female. So, anyways, with all that being said, and of course, don't forget we do have the wrestling recap tonight, as well as wrestling wrap up, as well as this day in each history. Today being July 11th, we're a week out from, of course, Independence Day. So with that, hey, Metal, just in time, my friend. We're about to get into the article, a couple articles here. And thank you for the like and the share. Hopefully, we can get some more friendly people in here. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and get started with the articles here then? And get my proverbial head out of my proverbial rear. All All right, so here's the first article we're going to be looking at. As I was mentioning a few minutes ago, there's apparently more than, as I mentioned the other day, I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes of this series. I'm not the only one, though, who apparently had issues with it. And as always, if anything we talk about here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyways, let's look at this article. Fans unhappy with art direction of My Adventures with Superman slam Magical Girl Superman, the Shonen Deathstroke, and race swapped Livewire. Article by Nerdigans published yesterday. So, like, as I mentioned myself, I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes because it just felt wrong to me. It just felt off. And apparently, there's even more stuff to come that's going to probably turn more people. And there's another little thing in this article that will tell you why this series will likely fail. All right, so from its Bishonen inspired interpretation of Deathstroke to its race swapped Livewire, not to mention, of course, the race swapped Jimmy Olsen and Perry White, fans are unhappy with the creative choices taken by DC's new anime-inspired animated rom-com, My Adventures with Superman. Now, even after I picked this article to go over today, I saw Vera Dark's coverage of it. She had some interesting things to say. We'll talk a little bit about that too as I'm going through the article here. All right. So, anyways, created by Ms. Marvel Volume 3 artist Jake Wyatt and co-produced by Netflix's She-Ra and the Princess of Power writer Josie Campbell and storyboard artist Brendan Clower. So just to give you an idea here, the people from the television end of this who are working on this series are the same people who worked on She-Ra and the Princess of Power. And if you guys have been watching my channel or you've seen other commentators talk about this, you know that series got lambasted as well. You know, for much of this, and even Vera Dark, when she was talking about this, when she was covering it, was talking about how, you know, one of the things about the art, what they were doing with the art was they were softening the images of the characters. You know, in essence, making even the guys look more effeminate than they actually are. So, anyways, as we continue on here, the Studio Mir animated series follows the early days of Clark Kent's life in Metropolis as he attempts to balance his secret identity with his developing career as an investigative reporter alongside Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. Now, as I mentioned too, and I know Vera also brought this up, the fact that they aged up Jimmy, and in essence making all three characters the same age, roughly. So that I think probably bother a lot of people, particularly a lot of us older fans who grew up, you know, with certain expectations. Distinguishing itself from other such DC TV projects by sporting a very obvious anime-inspired art style, it appears these ambitions to marry the West and the East have backfired thanks to the series leaning a little hard into the more, in smaller quotes, soft elements of its source medium. Yeah, in other words, apparently with the art, they made the features, quote unquote, softer. You know, let's see. One such element to draw the ire of fans was how the titular hero, rather than changing into a separate physical costume, now switches into the role as the Man of Steel via a new transformation sequence reminiscent of such legendary Japanese series as Sailor Moon or Saint Seiya. So this is where that magical girl Superman aspect, if you guys, if you've ever seen either now some of you may have seen Saint Seiya as Knights of the Zodiac, where they make this huge production in the transformation sequences, in fact, in the case of Sailor Moon, in order to get it past the censors here in the West, they needed to, in essence, just blank Serena's form in some way to where anyways, quote, every time there is some kind of transformation sequence in American animation nowadays, it has to be some kind of Sailor Moon reference. Now, for those of you who may remember, who have ever seen like the Fleischer cartoons or the Filmation cartoons of Superman, even in later years, even in the DCAU Superman, when he would change, initially he started out just running into a phone booth and changing, and then of course Filmation brought the idea, Filmation and Hanna-Barbera brought the idea of him slipping into a janitor's closet to change. I think it was even in the live action Superman series of the 50s that they did that as well. And then he may go into another room. We've basically seen, if you've ever seen the opening sequence to the Superman the animated series in the 90s, you'd see him just do this, and granted, I don't think he's that out in the open with it, but yeah, but anyways, moving along here, let's see, Austrian Graham criticized sharing a reaction image depicting the king's death from Shrek the Third, emblazoned with the words "dies from cringe." It just has to be. Why can't we be original like Ben 10? There's that meme. Some people might try to argue that, well, maybe they did this because they didn't want him looking like he was stripping down in public or anything like that, to avoid it. But if you've ever seen any Superman series, he always wore his super suit underneath his regular clothes. So it wasn't like when he would start to change, it wasn't like he was stripping down, naked or anything like that. Let's see. Quote, the same people who worked on Netflix's She-Ra, in brackets, and the Princess of Power, are giving us yet another bleepy Sailor Moon ripoff with possibly more ships and representation up the rear end, rhetorically asked Lightning KF, quote unquote, what a shocker. Yeah, I mean, they not only dump a lot of the original canon of Superman, but they decide to bring all these other elements into it that, it's like it's not Superman. It's not the Superman that most of us grew up with. It's not the Superman that, and if they're going to try to force this whole idea because, you got to have representation, you got to have diversity. I'm sorry, but the people who push in a way, the people who push the alphabet agenda from a figurative perspective, are figuratively basically trying to rape people. Okay? They're not actually raping people, but they are figuratively raping people because they're basically trying to force their ideology onto everybody else. You know, except the surreals. You know, that's the attitude of a rapist. Okay? So, you know, yeah, just think about that. Anyways, quote, bloody, really, DC? Why can't you just do Superman the proper bloody way? At Jed Revenwolf question. Quote, truth, justice, and the American way. He's not bloody Sailor Moon, you bunch of wankers. Obviously, this guy's from Britain. This guy's from Britain. Jed Revenwolf is British, obviously. Oh, boy. I think that's a sentiment, though, that is shared by a lot of people. Okay, so as we continue on here, and if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, another point of contention was the series' decision to depict one of the DCU's strongest and deadliest assassins, Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, as a near unrecognizable quote unquote Bishonen, Japanese slang term meaning pretty boy. Normally used in reference to characters whose looks are meant to appeal to a more female interest. Mm-hmm. So that's what Bishonen means, you know. Yeah, Deathstroke as a pretty boy. I think that just doesn't make any sense right there. He's an assassin for crying out loud. Pretty rugged assassin for that. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this so bleeping much. I cannot even put my loathing into more words. At Dragon Slay 3R94 proclaimed, quote, Deathstroke is a bleeping menace, not some yowie bait looking dude for Tumblr women to drool over. Oh boy. That dude really went off, didn't he? That dude really went off, didn't he? Look at what they did to Deathstroke. Look at what they did to him. Quote, why do all the men look like twinks and all the women look like young boys? Again, this again is the art they're going with. From what I understand, it's that quote unquote softer approach. Though I mean, a lot of this is really upsetting a lot of people apparently. Quote, why do okay, yeah, we already read that part. Asked at C15 podcast, quote, if you didn't tell me beforehand who these characters were, I would have no idea. That's bad when you're adapting something, unquote. Sharing a clip of the villain's battle against Robin from the 11th episode of the original Teen Titans cartoon back in that was back in the early 2000s, of course, mid 2000s. Apprentice Part 1 At I Blue Heart I explained, quote, Deathstroke is supposed to be a terrifying, intimidating assassin, not some twink that you'd find at a Starbucks. Unquote. Look at that. You guys remember that? And he was depicted just as terrifying and intimidating in Young Justice as well. That compared to this, how anybody would think that they were thought to be the same character would, I think, blow anybody's mind. Further, some fans were livid over the changes My Adventures of Superman had made to the villainess Leslie Willis, better known by her alter ego of Livewire. First introduced to the DC canon in the eponymous season 2 episode of Superman the animated series, the electrifying femme fatale was originally portrayed as a petite white woman who worked as a local Metropolis shock jock. Yeah, and for you guys all probably remember her origin. She decided to try to do a show in a thunderstorm and ended up getting shot and absorbed so much lightning that she became Livewire. But in DC's latest animated endeavor, the chaotic music aficionado has received both a race swap and a new, more smaller quote masculine bent on both her appearance and personality. So this is who Livewire is now supposed to be. And yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that she looks like a young boy. Now, granted, prepubescent boys could pass off as effeminate only because of the fact, of course, they just haven't gone. They are prepubescent. They haven't gone through puberty yet. So, but look at. Quote, Livewire should be a former goth-looking disc jockey, shock jock, who later looks like Livewire should be a former goth-looking disc jockey, shock jock, who later looks like this, unquote. At Douglas Lockwo 18 stated, quote, that abomination in that picture above is 100% not Livewire. Livewire is white, who later is Ghost white with blue hair after the accident. Quote unquote. They noted, quote, stop race swapping classic characters. Now, granted, maybe Livewire may not be for some of us considered a classic character as we would think of what the term classic would generally mean, but in some respects, you can make the argument that since she's classic to the DCAU, as that's where she was created, it may have merit. The statement may have some merit. And there, of course, is a scene from many animated series. Oh, Livewire was not black, you bleep, for bleep's sake. At Beltran Ed bellowed. Quote, she was a white goth girl that got struck by lightning and neon chemicals. That mutated her into an iconic blue skin, blue eyes, and white thunder-like haircut. This is just making my blood boiled at levels that I never expect to reach. And I know I'm yelling, but only because I'm reading it as it's being depicted. Let's see. I'm not yelling at. Hopefully you guys aren't taking me yelling. I'm just reading it as it's being presented with all the emotion behind it. Or some quote, that looks like a bloke, and Livewire is a woman, unquote, at Bedlam City Limit observed before speculating, quote, I bet they made her non-binary, unquote. Quote, her costume is also iconic. They further explained, quote, with some minor changes between artists and this, in smaller quotes, new one just looks too generic. Well, if you remember too, when Leslie did become Livewire, she essentially made her own clothes out of the air around her. New episodes of My Adventures with Superman premiere Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Pacific on Adult Swim, and Fridays on Max. And also, and I can tell you this also, if you're interested, not that I would imagine you are, most of you are, but it's also being rerun at 12 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the Toonami block on Cartoon Network as well. So, again, though, however, I don't know if you guys would be that interested in it, considering what they've done to it. Anyways, so we're done with that article. Now, of course, we're going to move on to the next article here in a moment, as soon as I get that one all. All right. So, and again, both of these stories are follow-ups to stuff we talked about, like, so the story we just did on My Adventures, that's kind of a follow-up to the story that I was talking about on Sunday's show with the guys. And here's a follow-up to a story that I covered yesterday that was actually, the article I went over yesterday was from, Friday, basically, I believe. So, and this has been getting a lot of attention lately. So here we go. Quote, One Piece podcast co-host Steve Yerko blasted by fans after ignoring Eiichiro Oda's words to push debunked transgender Yamato theory. Now, of course, you guys were here yesterday. You might have caught, if you didn't catch the whole thing, you might have caught part of it where I was talking about how Dallas-based voice actress Michelle Rojas, who was recently cast as Yamato, was also pushing the debunked transgender Yamato theory here. So, article by Nerdigans published earlier today, Anime and Censorship. So, all right. So, less than 24 hours after One Piece English voice actor Michelle Rojas reignited the allegedly debunked discourse over Yamato's gender identity, One Piece podcast co-host and Rick and Morty storyboard artist Steve Yerko, and of course there's some stuff going on there too, has added fuel to an already blazing conflict by calling on fans to intentionally ignore the words of series creator Eiichiro Oda. Now, the point I've been making is this is his character. This is his character. This is his vision of what this individual is to be. And for you to just ignore that is just stupid. It's his character. If he says she's a girl, she's a female, she's a female. I will repeat that several times until you all get it. As previously covered, according to Western Twitter activist, because the One Piece character Yamato is a tomboy who uses male pronouns, or a bokuko in Japanese, the only princess must be a transgender man. Now, Metal, if you're still in here, I would sure love to hear your comments on this, because probably know a little bit more than I do about some of this stuff like bokukos. You know, um, is there any real connection to a bokuko and transgenderism, or is this just a stretch by certain individuals? I mean, I would really like to hear somebody who's a little bit more in the know on it than I would, just to educate me a little bit more. But anyways, as we of course continue on with the article here about how to do so. However, this take on Yamato's character ignores the only princess use ignores the only princess's use of male pronouns originates from her abusive father, Emperor Kaido of the Beast, forcefully raising her as a boy to fulfill his desire for a son, as well as Yamato's wish to follow in the footsteps of her hero, Kozuki Oden. So basically, in that statement, that basically again, and I know we talked about this yesterday too when we read that. Idea is it's not necessarily that she sees herself as a male. I believe she sees herself as a female in all actuality. It's just that since she was raised as a male, and she wants to follow in the footsteps of Kozuki Oden, who I'm going to just assume here is a male for the sake here. You know, that's why she uses the masculine pronouns. Of course, all dissenters to this, in smaller words, transgender Yamato headcanon are automatically labeled as transphobic bigots, and we saw that statement in yesterday's article. However, despite the bleeding of such quote unquote anime tourists, Oda himself has already put the topic to rest twice. In 2021, the release of Yamato's official Oda approved Viver card, smaller quotes, character profile specifically labeled the Kanaba club wielder heroine as a woman. And then here's, I guess, somebody putting up the information of Yamato's Beaver card. Gender, female. Okay. I mean, and you look at the breast there too. She definitely looks like a biological female to me. Don't know about you guys, but even when you look at her body overall, there, you look at the breast, you look at the muscle tone, you look at all that. She looks like she's female to me. Further, the Beaver card for the series' actual transgender character, Kiku Nojo, lists her as quote, male woman at heart, unquote. So, for people that want, I guess, let's see if they follow that up. Let's see. 2 years later, Oda once again offered proof of Yamato's female gender by featuring her in a One Piece cover page illustration, which specifically highlighted a handful of the series' more popular female characters. So you see Yami in there, Robin, Hancock, Yeah, there's Yamato right there. I see her up front there. You got let's see, there are a few others. Let's see. So yeah. Yet, despite these hard confirmations that Yamato is indeed female, when announcing her casting as the heroine's English voice actor, the aforementioned Rojas referred to her with male pronouns. Quote, I am Kosuke Odin, unquote, declared Rojas. Quote, honored to announce I play Yamato in One Piece. I am a huge One Piece fan and resonate with its character so much. I think that's you're either delusional or you're lying because if you resonated with her character as you say, you would accept the fact that she's female. So that I call BS on that. I call BS on that statement right there. And again, and I thank you guys for the likes and the shares. Um, and of course, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let's see. Yeah. So where were we? Okay. So excited for everyone to meet him in the dub. Again, you look at her, you can tell this is a woman. This is a female, not a male. Let's see. Taking the side of the gender politics poisoned in the resulting discourse, Yurko responded to the backlash against Rojas's dismissal of Oda's words by dumping fuel on the fire. Taking to Twitter on July 4th, 1 week ago, Yurko shared an original illustration depicting Yamato in a shared men's bath, a recreation of a scene from the series Wano arc, wherein Yamato bathes with male characters instead of female characters, um, which activists regularly point to as evidence of her transgender identity, rejecting her in small quote smelly Weaver card, while Luffy cheers her on. So she's a woman who decided to share a male bath. So what? Doesn't mean that she thinks she's still doesn't mean that she thinks that she's female. And again, if she was raised as a male, of course she's going to be comfortable being around men and not thinking that they're looking at her looking like they want to jump her because they're all in heat because they see her body. Okay. Ah. Hey Rick. Hey Rick. We're at the 39-minute mark already. Let's see. Fed up with the constant attempt by fair-weather audiences to overwrite original works with their own narratives, One Piece fans at large pushed back against Yuriko's flagrant dismissal of Oda's works. Quote, bleeping loser who can't accept the truth and disregards what Oda and the editors want. I think it's supposed to be want. Typo I have in there. Unquote. At Debut Lover 2 declared, quote, ignoring objective proof is another reason people despise your liberal, progressive bleep threads. Turn off comments all you want. We beating you in the QRTs. A quote retweet, I guess. Not shocking you work on Rick and Morty. Let's see. In brackets, Yamato, quote, Yamato uses kanojo pronoun, which is a Japanese word for female, unquote, explained at X death speed ZX. Um, oh, okay. I thought that they were saying that she did use male pronouns, but apparently not. Quote, she never used he or him or called herself a man. That was a translation error, unquote. Quote, also, outside of the English mistranslation error, in manga, every single thing depicts her as female, and she is referred to as the only princess in manga, or demon princess, basically, as it would be translated. They added, quote, this is just getting funny now, unquote, laughed at Tofuke19. Quote, so the Beaver cards are information details. Oda's own staff confirm that they run through with Oda before publishing them. Of course, it confirms Yamato is a woman, but a certain community won't accept what the author says of his own product. Mm-hmm. Quote, Yamato has big boobs, unquote, said at Cappy. Quote, Oda only gives his female characters big boobs and an hourglass body shape. He literally calls it, quote, the female figure in a small book. Yamato is a woman, unquote. In support of his claim, Atsuki Cappy also shared a, quote, special drawing lesson, unquote, given by Oda in the SBS section of the series' 78th volume. And just in case you guys are wondering, I'm not angry or I'm not yelling at you. I'm reading it as it's intended. I'm reading the article as it's intended to be represented. All right, so let's see. JR, hey, JR, thanks for coming in. Let's see. Hail Lord Xenu and hail Princess Xena, our only true saviors. Peace be upon us. Mm-hmm. Hey, Rick Mike Metal. Hey, JR. Hail, JR. Hey, Woody. Welcome to the stream. Good evening, Woody. And hey, Woody and JR. Rick the Metal, Mike, and the Peanut Gallery. Yeah, it looked like we got more of a full house here. And thank you guys for liking the sharing and the viewing. As we, of course, will be continuing on here. And as I said, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment or ask questions about it. Asked by a fan if he could tell them, quote, the secret to drawing the hourglass figures of the women in One Piece, in parentheses, especially the boobs. The mangaka explained, quote, just think of the female figure as three circles and one X. Okay. And now, goodbye. In a postscript, Oda playfully but seriously noted, quote, if this is the only figure you draw, Your female readers will send you many criticisms. Try to remain strong and dedicated. And again, there's another shot of Yamato right there, and the big boobs out front there. Quote, this is how the creator treats his own characters, unquote, Atsuki Cappy added. Quote, you would do good to respect his choices. Hashtag Eiichiro Oda, quote, I stand by your character design, unquote. Some even theorize that the hand-drawn holding Yamato's Beaver card in Yuriko's piece was Oda himself. Let's see. Providing their speculation regarding the podcast host through process in the smaller quote green text style at getting based on one asserted quote I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but that I would normally read that as greater than. Greater than depicts the author as a smelly Jap. Greater than image depicts blatant disregard of an official source of canon information. Oh, I see what they're doing here. Depicts the author as a smelly Jap. Image depicts the blatant disregard of an official canon information. Tourists eat the bleep up. All this so they can push their idiot headcanon of Yamato being trans. Unquote. And then, quote, the state of the anime community, unquote. They then summarized, quote, we should have gate kept harder. So I'm going to assume that the guy who has the Weaver card of Yamato saying she's a girl is Oda. In parentheses, the creator of One Piece. Unquote. Likewise theorized at Six Shubi Nigarath 6. Quote, and Yamato waving it away is your headcanon that you so desperately want to be canon. Oh, somebody put in Jim Carrey, you are a pathetic loser. Gender female. I mean, again, she looks like a female to me. I don't know why that's so hard to accept. And remember all my stream starts up at 10 p.m. Eastern. So after Mike is done, come on by and stop by. Yeah, go ahead. I may even head over there because I may want to at least get more of your thought. Because you guys aren't coming in here, I may want to get your thoughts on what I was thinking maybe about even bringing this up on Sunday because it's been such a big story of late for the last couple months here. So, the issue is that you can't really gatekeep things that air on broadcast television. It's going to reach them whether desired or not. But my thing is that what are these people just watching it just so they can pervert and subvert the creator's original intent for the character? That's what I'd be wondering. Are they One Piece fans just so they can subvert and pervert the original intentions of the creator? So, anyways, quote, it's not that deep. It's just my headcanon, bro. Um, it's such a lie, unquote, accused at Al Ghost. Quote, it ain't your headcanon when you harass people if you don't accept it. It ain't a headcanon when you take the author's word. You know the guy who actually knows the characters and paint it as a stinky piece of manure, unquote. Others still, others still directed their frustrations towards the trans activist hypocrisy, recalling how they accepted Guilty Gear creator's claim that he always intended for Bridget to be transgender, despite the mountains of evidence to the contrary, while simultaneously disregarding Oda's own vision. Yeah, because his vision was, that vision matched up with their vision. That's why. That's simple. Quote, hey, remember when we were all told to respect the creator's artistic vision over Bridget last year? Unquote. At I am 16-bit noted. Quote, funny how some people just magically forgot about that the moment Oda confirmed Yamato didn't follow their headcanon. Unquote. Quote, bro, Western Twitter is so laughable, observed uh, Dev de Wilkie. Quote, when it comes to Bridget, from a male to a transgender woman, they shout stunning and brave, praising Daisuke's vision, meanwhile denying Oda's vision of Yamato being canonically female and cope on their headcanon. Or headcanon. No, you need to listen to Daisuke. He said Bridget is trans. He is the creator at Petan Enjoyer imitated the activist. Quote, meanwhile, Oda literally said Yamato is female, and these people disregard it, unquote. They added, quote, it's always amusing how these people can't remain consistent to save their lives, unquote. As of writing, Yuriko has not publicly responded to fans' criticism. Of course not, because he knows he's gonna get blasted. Not literally, of course, but figuratively. In Minecraft. Okay. So, anyways, so that's all the articles we're gonna go over. Let's see, and let's see. See, there's actually been some more. I'm glad there's seen some conversation here. Let's see. You can gatekeep fan interaction nodes through message boards, YouTube, and alas, Twitter. Yes, they are subversive and trying to converge the industry. Those activists that write articles, most probably, there probably is a fair amount of people who used to watch One Piece on 4Kids and got indoctrinated since then. Yeah, and the thing, and I remember the big criticism about the 4Kids version because they made it more kid friendly, so a lot of this stuff would not have been in the 4Kids version. Yeah, the evidence they had for Bridget was a line played off as a joke. If anything, Bridget just doesn't care at all about his gender anymore. All right, so that's an interesting note there. I was thinking about bringing this up on Sunday, but if we get all the talking out, tonight, then that's fine too. we can move on to other things. But I wanted to cover that article because it was a major article. It's been a major story for like the past couple months here, because there ever since earlier this year, that pictorial that we were showing you there, where Oda had all of the popular female characters and Yamato was in it, that's what's been reigniting this whole debate. So with that, now let's see. Wow, we're already at 55 minutes. Wow. Anyways, all right, so we are gonna start to wind things down a bit here. We're gonna speed along here real quick. It's like here, wow. Gonna do the wrestling wrap up, this day needs history, then we'll wrap up. And of course, when we're finished here, feel free to head over to Rick's channel. It's Chill Stream. Go check out go check that out. Rick's a cool guy to really talk to and all that. So hopefully we'll see you over there. Anyways. All right, so with the wrestling wrap up here, Metal added something here. 4 kids made Ivankov straight up an ugly woman because they thought Americans couldn't handle a man in drag. Oh, okay. That's it. Well, yeah, because it's funny because I know a lot of these activists would probably try to argue that Oda saying that Yamato is a woman instead of being a transgendered man, they'd probably try to argue that he's transphobic. But then you look at a character like Ivankov, who is was basically who's basically somebody who would dress in drag, So, anyways, well, also, of course, Metal, you and I would both surmise 4 kids was also again, they were bowderizing the series, and that's what much like they did with Science Industry Gatchaman back in the 70s, when they cut out a third of the content, cut the more gruesomely violent to make it more appropriate for kids. And I know 4 Kids was, adapting the anime for a younger audience, and due to that, they were trying to they wanted to take out as much of the mature content as possible without taking away from the story. So, anyways, so with the wrestling wrap up, let's see. On last night's Raw, of course, few notes that came out of that. Becky Lynch was originally Becky Lynch was going to face Zoe Stark, but then when she got to the show, it looked like they were not going to have the match because apparently Becky had suffered some kind of minor injury, but then she eventually did get cleared. So there's been some speculation as to whether or not she was injured. Also, of course, the Raw World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins teamed with the Unified Tag Team Champions Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn to defeat 3 members of the Judgment Day in the main event of the night. Tommaso Ciampa defeated Miz with Bronson Reed attacking him after the match, potentially setting up a feud between those two. So that's a lot of what was going on with Raw last night. And then on tomorrow night's Dynamite for AEW, you'll have the two semifinal matches in the Blind Eliminator Tag Tournament, with the winner of this tournament getting AEW World Title shot. The two Blind Eliminator Tag Tournament matches that will be happening will be Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy taking on Jericho Appreciation Society members of Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, and Adam Cole and MJF taking on Big Bill and Ryan Cage. This is in the same vein of the Lethal Lottery from the WCW days. And of course, the winners of those two matches will be facing each other in the finals match to determine who will be the next challenger to the AEW World Tag Team Championships. One of the two semifinal matches in the women's, as the men have already advanced to the finals. The men's bracket of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament will be CM Punk taking on Ricky Starks. The first of the two semifinal matches will be happening tomorrow night, with Ruby Soho taking on Sky Blue, and then of course Willow Nightingale will be taking on Athena this Friday on Rampage. Originally, Willow and Athena were supposed to take each other on past Saturday in Collision, only for Willow to not be cleared due to an injury she sustained in Japan while defending her strong open weight women's title. They believe she'll be cleared by this Friday, though. Swerve Strickland will be taking on Nick Wayne, and Chris Jericho will be taking on Commander. So that's it for the... And, of course, I'll go over the results of Dynamite tomorrow. But with that, it's now time to wrap things up by going over the this day in each history. And for us, 63, 53, 2018. All right, so without any further ado, today being Tuesday, July the 11th, 2023, let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! So first off, we're going to head back to 1953. As the first thing we want to do is wish a happy birthday to Mindy Sterling. Happy 70th birthday to Mindy Sterling. Now, Mindy Sterling is, of course, an actress, voice actress. She would provide the voices for the following characters in some anime, including Lin Bei Fong in Legend of Korra, Miss Endive in Chowder, Aunt Melly in Higglytown Heroes, Mrs. Sneedley in The Epic Tales of Captain Underpants, and Enid Clinton in the Justice League Unlimited episode Once and Future Thing. So happy 70th birthday to voice actress Mindy Sterling. Now moving ahead now to the next piece of niche history here, heading back just 60 years ago, as on this date 60 years ago today. So I pull it up here. On this date 60 years ago today, Johnny Valentine, the father of Greg Valentine, would defeat John Paul Henning in Toronto for the Toronto version of the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. So on this date, 60 years ago today, Johnny Valentine would defeat John Paul Henning for the Toronto version of the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Let's see, moving on to the next piece of each history as we move ahead to 1994. On this date in 1994, the 10th issue of Team Youngblood from Image's Extreme imprint was released on newsstands on this date back in 1994, which of course was 29 years ago. On this date, 29 years ago, the 10th issue of Teen Youngblood from Image's Extreme imprint went on sale on this date for $2.50 for 32 pages. Edited by Eric Stevenson. And with that, we finish up with going back just 5 years ago. On this date, 5 years ago today, the following anime premiered on Japanese TV. The third season of Overlord from Madhouse. Naz's Angle Moi record of Mongol invasion, and Kyoto Animation's the season 3 of Kyoto Animation's Free. So those three anime debuted on this date 5 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope you guys found the show enjoyable, informative. Did seem like we did get some good conversation going a little bit about the topics at hand. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll most likely, of course, be going over. If he has it up, if Chris Purdy has it up, probably be going over some more releases. We'll be doing the indie comic spotlight article from Bleeding Fool. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Don't forget to head over to Rick, check out his show. And with that, I shall bid you all a good night and adieu. Bye.